Coast Guard heroes arriving in the Abaco Islands.
5 young boys create a rescue trampoline.
The first to run a marathon in under 2 hours.
We have seen what we thought was unseeable.
A relay of dogs will lead blind runner Tom Panic across the finish line.
Nicolas Mahut lost in the French Open, but then his 7-year-old son ran onto the court to give his dad a big hug.
Her and her sister have been heroes for many little girls out there.
I want to thank my amazing mom. She's my hero.
I love you.
Exactly what I was thinking.
When you are free to be you, it is the best feeling in the world.
He's the Sully Sullenberger of pizza.
My family is making a grant to eliminate their student loans.
We know deep down what's right and what's needed.
I'm going to fight this.
Who says I can't? Nobody! Here it comes. Never been done in competition. The category is love, y'all. Love!
Use your heart, your courage and vision to fix, to heal, to empathize, to connect. Because living life for something bigger than yourself is a hero's journey.
Hello, everybody watching. I'm Lisa Wisner, the host of the Power Up Hero Show. This is a show all about being the hero of your story. Power Up Hero is all about living a powered up life because let's face it, living your best life and juggling a busy workload can be close to impossible. In fact, sometimes it can feel like you have to pull those heroic, unimaginable superpowers from who knows where. This show is also about stories behind nominated Power Up heroes. We're going to be talking about the mission that one of our heroes is on and the life that they have built as proud heroes for our community. Through this show, we hope to help you become the best version of yourself by seeing a reflection of being a Power Up hero through the story we will be sharing today. So I want to ask you a question before we get started. Do you know the name Maya Angelou? How about Robert Frost? Or maybe you've heard of Walt Whitman. Well, there's a reason you know these names and there's a reason why they're ringing a bell to you because they are famous poets. And you've probably guessed it already. Today, our show is all about poetry. When I say the words, I rise, I rise, I rise, I'm pretty sure you all know who I'm talking about. That is Angelou's Still I Rise. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood starts Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken. And least we forget, oh, Captain, my Captain, a quote from the poem of the same name by Walt Whitman. This poem actually even made it on a show called Dead Poet Society, which is a really great movie if you've never seen it, about poetry. Now, poetry is so important in our world today because not only does it help us understand and appreciate the world, it's also one of the oldest forms of human expression, and it can be found in every single culture all over the world and in societies everywhere. And so today we are elevating, we are shining a spotlight on an amazing individual who has taken to poetry to help tell stories across the world in multiple platforms. Today we are celebrating Raymond Douglas Chong, the Senior Roadway Manager with the Oregon Department of Transportation at Portland, Oregon. This gentleman is not a guest on our show. In fact, we were glad to welcome Raymond Chong back. Raymond Chong was previously celebrated on our show when he was celebrated as our Power Up hero of service. And so today we are bringing to you Raymond Douglas Chong, who is going to be sharing with us a brand new book that is going to be recognizing the multiple talents of Raymond Chong. And so with that, I ask you all in the chat to join me in welcoming Raymond Chong to the show. Welcome, Ray. Welcome. Yes, Ray. I'm so happy to see you here. How's it going?
Very good, ma'am. Very good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's so good to see you. Well, first of all, congratulations on being nominated again to be on this show with your brand new book, which, by the way, I'm just going to jump right in and tell everybody, I've got the book right here, right here, hot off the press. Oh, you have a copy too. Well, obviously you would. Congratulations, Ray. We're so excited for you, and we're so excited for your book launch.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited. And this is a kind of a launch of my book formally, this very show. And I thought of you first.
I'm so glad. Yes, thank you. So world, you're listening right here. This is the very first, I guess you could say, introduction of Raymond Douglas Chong in this modality, right? So we know you, Ray, in so many ways, speaking on stages about the Asian American experience. I have to mention here that one of the ways that I recognize you most is by the way that you tell this epic saga, as you call it, of your Zhang clan from Taiping in China from 1849 to now, which is over 172 years, a 7-generation journey. And so I wanted to start our show today by helping our audience learn just a little bit about you. So I'm going to ask you, Raymond Douglas Chong, tell us, who are you in this universe we call the world?
Well, thanks for the introduction. My name is Raymond Douglas Chong, or in Chinese, Zhang Weiming. And my stories go back to China in Taiping, to now, to America. And I was born in the City of Angels during the year of President Eisenhower, back then, way back then. And I was born in the heart of Chinatown at the French hospital. And Dr. Julius Su, the godfather of Chinatown, delivered me on that afternoon on January 2nd, 1956. And my life was centered on the City of Angels, went and graduated from the University of Southern California with a bachelor's degree, a master's degree later at San Jose State University. I'm also a distinguished professor at Shandong Jiao Tong University in China. And in the course of my career as a professional civil engineer, been both in government and in consultancy. And that's how I met you.
Yes. City Hall. I have to bring you in closer. We are both public servants, right? I think that's how
at that time.
We became friends, right?
Postmasters too.
Yeah. So I'm excited that that not only did we build a friendship through our careers, right? So we both worked for city government, local government, but I think just your love for telling stories led us to also join an organization, Toastmasters, right? And that's how we got to know each other even better, because in Toastmasters, it's all about sharing stories. It's all about sharing your experiences. And I learned a lot about you, Ray. And I'm just excited to dig into this brand new book that you have here with us. And so I'm just going to read a little bit about the book for everybody. So this book is called, and forgive me if I say this pronunciation of the first part wrong. Is it peony or peony? Correct me, please.
No one can correct you.
Okay.
Either way.
Okay. So it's either way. Okay. So I'm going to say peony amour. And so it's like the love, right? The love of, and a peony is a flower. Can you describe this for me so that I make sure I get it? What is a peony?
Yeah, the context is in my poetry. It's a cross between America and China, East and West. And I use heavily the metaphors of flowers to explain the realm of love, amour, in a cultural way that's vivid, colorful, impassioned. And in my book, I cover 5 phases of that first chapter: sultry ecstasy, the meeting, the rendezvous, rapturous rhapsody, the foundation, the rapport, the relationship. Dan is a special chapter to this particular peony. Chapter 4, Frosty Agony, when there's the collapse, the tension, the betrayal, the backbiting.
So just for context, so peony is a flower, right?
A metaphor.
It's a metaphor for a flower, and amour is love, right? In French, right?
Yes. And the peony is a reference. One hand, it's a flower, but in this more metaphor, it's actually a lady of China. I call it a peony.
I get it. Okay, so this book is about a saga, another tale about love. And so it's the tale of the lady who is the flower, metaphorically. Yes. And then and in here I was reading that the dragon, right? Who is the dragon? Is that the other side of the love?
Yes, the dragon, again, the metaphor is a gentleman who is from America, Oracle Mountain, who goes through a period of joy and then grief. In chapter 5, the last is forlorn farewell, but it's their impassioned journey from ecstasy to agony in all the merits of the pains and joys of love.
Wow. And I think your audience may be wondering, what do these poems sound like? So we're just going to go ahead and let's listen to one of your poems. And so if you haven't had a chance to ever know who Raymond Douglas Chong is, Raymond Douglas Chong is on YouTube, and Ray actually performs some of his poems. And so this is an excerpt from one of his poetry performances. Please enjoy.
My Best Love by Raymond Douglas Chong. I say my best love only for my true love. It never leaves. My love would change because it becomes more and more. I do not know the true appearance of love. Maybe as hot as wildfire, as sweet as honey, as warm as sunshine, as deep as ocean. But the only thing I want to bring, your rapture, in satisfaction and in passion, with my best love.
Wow. So if you are just joining us, we are here with Raymond Douglas Chong, who we've just celebrated as the PowerUp Hero of Service. This is Ray's second time being nominated for this title, I guess you could say, as a hero in our community. And today our show is all about poetry and what poetry can do for us in our lives, not only for ourselves, but for our communities and for the world. And so we were hearing an excerpt from Ray's brand new book that has come out on Amazon just recently, and I got it hot off the press. Thank you, Ray, for sending me the copy. This book is Peony Amour, which is a sultry ecstasy and frosty agony. And I absolutely love the descriptive nature of this book. And when you start to read this book, you really start to dig into the story of a Chinese lady, the peony, and an American Chinese gentleman, the dragon, during the Year of the Horse. And so I'm just, excited to be, I feel like I'm seeing your soul. I'm digging into your heart and your mind, Ray. And so I want to ask you, are these poems written from the perspective of the Chinese lady or from the American dragon? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
In my book, Peony Amour, Sultry Ecstasy, and Frosty Agony, it's from the vantage of the dragon, of his joy and pain at that time of their torrential and tumultuous relationship, up and down, skating, loving, impassioned, ugly, the bewitching, the betrayal, all the gamut of, I know in your case, it's always at the high level for you, but this is a true story of that realm of passion at that moment over a 1-year period.
Yes, I always like to say, how do you have flowers with lots of rain, right? And so if you even imagine that my love, I guess maybe with my Mr. Wisner and whatever love for myself is up here, then that means that I must go down even deeper, right? To be able
Yes.
to experience that love. And so I think what you're writing is the authenticity of what love truly is, right? There's that roller coaster. And when you
Yes.
say the agony, like all these words of the agony,
the zenith to the abyss.
Yeah, the zenith to the abyss. You know, you use all these words that just make me feel like, oh my gosh, you know, this is really the side of us as humanity that we don't appreciate, which is, if you're going to have positive, please know that there's another spectrum, right? And we
Yes.
live in between that. We're always living this push and pull of, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. Oh my gosh, what just happened, right? And I think, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the only way to experience true ecstasy, is to really go to the abyss?
In my sense, yeah. In terms of being authentic, transparent, not be artificial or fraud, but have a sensitivity, sensuality of that fire and ice of the lady and the gentleman, and not be a academic exercise, but a purity of the feelings, the passion, and fire and ice.
And of course, if I have to ask, you know, now tell us, you know, we know that this entire collection of poems is really a story of the beginning of the love story, the anguish, the hurt, you know, all of it, all the way to, I guess it's the cryptic peony, you know, there's even one that's called Farewell, you know. So, you know, tell me, you know, is this from a lived experience or is this imaginative for you?
It's imaginative in a creative way, but since I have years of experience and reality, so let's say it's a composite of my elegant, exquisite, agonizing, terrible experiences, all wrapped in one book.
All of them. Okay, so what you're saying is, if we want to know who Raymond Douglas Chong is, we need to read this book, right?
No, what I'm trying to convey is you are there at that place in China, that you are with me, with my peony, and we're embarking on this odyssey, this journey across China.
Got it.
And different moments of happiness and then betrayal, that kind of spectrum.
Yes.
It's not one constant happy show, but the reality. But in general, I hope for success for everyone. I don't regret any failure or catastrophe for anyone.
Right. And isn't that what a heroic story is about anyway, right? There's no movie blockbuster hit of a hero movie where the hero shows up and in the first scene they save the day and the movie ends. There's always suffering, right? There's always something that the hero has to do. And so I want to challenge you right now. I don't know if you have a selection that you might be wanting to read for us, but while you are maybe thinking about what you can read for us, I mean, I really want to think through how you, while you're reading that, I want us to think through how we can also express our own lives through poetry. And so I want to hear you read, and then I want to dig into it. You know, where did that come from? How did you write that? When were you writing those words? So if you're ready,
okay.
Go ahead.
Well, let me do the first poem from chapter 1, and I would call it my signature poem, which is on the YouTube, and I'll recite for you. Our eternal typhoon. Over the year of the horse, as our ablaze intrigue in libido thunders, during a torrential spree of mists and tears, twin buttery flowers intensely fascinate within our infernal voyage. Across the majestic Middle Kingdom, from Beijing, Forbidden City, to Jinan, City of Springs, to Fengwang, Phoenix, Ancient Town, you and I intimately infuse.
Ooh.
At Fengwang, along a shimmering Tuanjing, aside from a leafy and stony promenade amid a spectacle of wooden villas, your willowy and velvety allure deeply bewitches my dragon heart. Those are the three of the 5 stanzas.
Yes, stanzas. Okay, so I almost want to dig into what we're talking about here. So now we've set the scene, right? You said this was one of the
Yes.
first poems, right?
I
It
set
is the first
the
poem.
tapestry,
It
the
is
canopy,
very first one.
the
Okay.
canvas. Hmm.
Yeah, so you've set the scene, the year of the horse, being, what is that? It doesn't matter, right? Because I think the year of the horse repeats. I guess
It's a Chinese year,
yeah.
a certain year. So I'm doing the context. This was that year of that inferno voyage in China.
And so I really like how you bring in the cultural, I guess you could say, education here, right? Because I think a part of reading this poetry is you're not only realizing the context of the year, but you're also realizing the locations, right?
Yes.
So from
the places,
Beijing,
the venues,
city,
the sceneries.
The scenery. So you start to bring that imagery of where is this taking place?
You're
Where is
there with me.
Yes, where is this eternal typhoon happening? Oh my gosh, you know?
Yes.
And then you use words like you and I are intimately infused, right? So like you and I intimately infused, right? So that that means being connected. And then
in many ways, depending how you want to cut it.
Exactly, you know, leave your imagination to grow, right? And so I think on some level, I feel like this book, you know, it's, you know how they say that some books, you know, they can become movies, you know, with poetry, it's the interpretation of the person reading the poem that really determines the I guess you could say the identity of the poem, right? What is the identity of the poem
at that moment?
So I want to hear from you, you know, why have you taken to this form of writing when, you know, we know you as this writer of the generational, you know, travels of your family, you know,
history,
your Asian American journey, and then you write that so well, you know, academically, you know, we should be really saying you're Dr. Tong, okay? So you're such an academic in your writing in regards to the Asian American.
Well, I must admit, I'm bipolar.
Yes.
Engineering and academia.
Yeah.
But,
okay, I'm gonna bring us back in so that we can just chat about this, because I really want to just dig into how you're able to bring in, like you said, this side of you that's very scientific, and then this side of you that's very creative. You have multiple talents. Tell us about that.
The journey of my poetry began on May 8th, 2009 in China, when I did a Qingming, a day of honor our ancestors in my village of Dragon Hill in Kaiping. We went up to the hill of the flying swan. Among that were roughly 10 tombs of my ancestors. And there were black butterflies, birds, cicadas wailing in the background. At that moment, I felt the presence of my forefathers from above touch me, and I began to write poems from that point on May 8th, 2009. Before, I knew vaguely what a poem was, but at that moment, being at that place, I felt the connection to get into this madness called poetry since that time.
Wow.
2009.
So it was divine. Now it's part of your divine nature. It came to you. It came to you from that experience of your travels, right?
Yes.
And if I can mention here, Raymond Chong's superpowers, we've already identified this through our very first interview with Ray, teaching, travel, and transformation. So you were transformed.
Very much so.
So go ahead. Tell me more about now how you've taken that into this poetry that is very, very vivid, but also educational in terms of vocabulary. I mean, I feel like I have to look up some of these words. So tell me more.
Well, I also apply in write articles about history. I don't want to be a statement of boring facts. I want to add the context, the content of that scenery, what had transpired at that moment in history, whether it's the African American journey or the Chinese American journey. I want to feel you are there with me, what we bear, my forefathers from China on the Iron Road, the Transcontinental Railroad, and you get that feeling in yourself, your ancestor, whether in Kenya, doing the rebellion against the British colonial powers. You can share that story by being very truthful and heartful, and people will renaissance and connect with you with that story. Not a dry statement of facts from the history book, but have a strong connection, a bonding that you're authentic.
I love it. And now I feel like I owe the audience an opportunity to hear another side of your poetry through a TED Talk. So for those of y'all who are watching, if you do not know this, Raymond Douglas Chong is also a TED speaker. So he does have a TED Talk out. And this TED Talk is near and dear to Ray's heart. Enjoy. We will be right back in a few minutes.
We are Americans within our minds, within our soul, within our hearts. We are dreamers. In the 1931 quote, it describes the American dream. The American dream is that dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and further for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. That is the American dream that my forefathers, the Zhang clan, looked for in Gamsung, Gold Mountain, America, in pursuit of the American dream for the golden riches of the promised land. And they came across the Pacific Ocean from the Far East shore to escape the poverty, the warfare that was occurring in China.
For those of y'all who are just tuning in, my name is Lisa Wisner, and I am so excited to be your host today of the Power Up Hero Show. Today, we are celebrating a multi-talented hero, Raymond Douglas Chong. We just celebrated as the Power Up Hero of Service. We are doing a book launch, and so I'm going to flash the cover of the book, Ray, if you don't mind, to everybody. I have my own personal copy right here, but I want you to see it right there. We are celebrating Raymond Douglas Chong's brand new book that's all about poetry. And one of the things we wanted to do was to challenge everybody to think about poetry as a form of expression, as a form of telling stories and sharing messages from different cultures around the world. And so, Ray, I ask you a question, right, in terms of your culture, which is Chinese American culture,
yes,
and poetry, right? So how important is it for all of us to step into the world of poetry, to be able to express ourselves and our identities?
In all cultures, whether it's Chinese, Kenyan, Persian, it's in thousands of years of poetry. And I'm just continuing my way of thinking of this poetry, but it's tied to my roots in China and my roots in America. So it's a blend of, as I say, America and China. And it's a way to communicate and be authentic, be transparent. I've been learning that. And this is my venue, a tool to share that personal feeling to you, to share that you're there, that you're part of my journey. It is not a dry academic exercise. You're in that moment. You have that sensory feeling of that moment with me.
I love it. And it feels like a very intimate expression of being with each other, right?
Yes.
I mean, we know poems as like love poems, you know, people writing love poems to each other. And obviously those are special. But I think any form of poetry is a form of somebody sharing their true soul. And, you know, even though it's been around for a long time and it's a great way to communicate, you know, and express ourselves, you know, for you, it was sort of like a special moment, right? It was part of your transformation after your travel that
Yes.
you were able to find this part of you that could do poetry. But can anyone do poetry? Because I don't know whether you're trying to say that we can all write poems or who can write poems, but maybe just, you know, break down poetry for us. How can we all get started in writing poems?
I think is having a sense of your own identity. I found my identity as an American first, and then Chinese on that May 2009, and to have that connectivity with the spirits. At that moment, there's a rare picture of those spirits coming to me when we were celebrating them at the altar of their home. I saw it. It happened right there. It was spell bonding when that moment occurred. At that moment, at that time, I didn't realize that there was a photo that showed the spirits were hovering above me. that very moment, I connected with my family.
Wow. So somebody took a photo and you could physically see
A spirit.
a spirit, like
my
a hazy
forefathers.
kind of.
Yes.
What did it look like?
It looked like a misty cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And another key moment during that particular time was I learned to speak my native language, Kai Pinghua. And I haven't spoken in decades, and suddenly I could speak fluently. I was there.
Wow.
I even dreamt in Kai Pinghua
Mm.
at that moment.
Wow. So truly transformative. And you said this was in 2009.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. And I remember, being friends with you for a while. I remember you coming to our Toastmasters clubs with these amazing stories, and I almost felt like you were, you mentioned earlier, I felt like I was bipolar, but I really felt like you had this, I don't know if I should say anointing or divine nature about yourself of expression, of the use of the language to be able to say what you mean in these intricate ways. And so where did you learn that? How your I guess you could say command of the English language is really great. So where did you learn that from?
Trial and error, practice, failure, getting refined. Because this is my fourth book. And first effort, second effort, third effort, I get to a higher and higher stage. And at this moment, at this very time, I'm at the zenith, the pinnacle of my poetry writing. I can sense that it comes natural, it comes smoothly, fluidly in my mind. I can express it. I could create a poem in 10 minutes, a 25-line sentence poem, just fluidly, and create a story. And you're there,
so
whether in Portland or in Texas or in China.
I love it. So over time, if you just keep at it, then you will get better at it.
Yes.
And I remember meeting you, actually, my very first time meeting you was you were a writer of songs, I think, right? For a band. Yes, I think that's how I actually met you. Now I'm remembering. Oh my gosh, it's all coming back, Ray. Oh my goodness, we've known each other too long for me to forget this.
Yes.
You were in a band.
Yes, I was. More Mystique. And I was the lyricist, and I was telling a story.
Yes.
Similar to this story here.
I remember that. And I remember thinking, who is that? Like, that's my friend. I already know that's a person who's my friend. I just need to connect. So it's a pleasure to have known you for all these years. And so I definitely wanted to make sure that I shared some knowledge about poetry. And so, Ray, if you don't mind, I definitely want to bring in some knowledge from our friends at TED. For those of y'all who are watching, we're celebrating poetry today with Raymond Douglas Chong, our PowerUp hero of service. And so I want to share with you just a little bit about what poetry means to us in our world today. Enjoy.
Muhammad Ali spent years training to become the greatest boxer the world had ever seen, but only moments to create the shortest poem. Ali captivated Harvard's graduating class in 1975 with his message of unity and friendship. When he finished, the audience wanted more. They wanted a poem. Ali delivered what is considered the shortest poem ever. Me, we. Or is it me, we? No one's really sure. Regardless, if these two words are a poem, then what exactly makes a poem a poem? Poets themselves have struggled with this question, often using metaphors to approximate a definition. Is a poem a little machine, a firework, an echo, a dream? Poetry generally has certain recognizable characteristics. 1. Poems emphasize language's musical qualities. This can be achieved through rhyme, rhythm, and meter, from the sonnets of Shakespeare to the odes of Confucius to the Sanskrit Vedas. 2. Poems use condensed language, like literature with all the water wrung out of it. 3. Poems often feature intense feelings, from Rumi's spiritual poetry to Pablo Neruda's Ode to an Onion. Poetry, like art itself, has a way of challenging simple definitions. While the rhythmic patterns of the earliest poems were a way to remember stories even before the advent of writing, a poem doesn't need to be lyrical. Rainer Doll's Apfel and Eugen Gomringer's Silencio toe the line between visual art and poetry. Meanwhile, E.E. Cummings wrote poems whose shapes were as important as the words themselves, in this case, amplifying the sad loneliness of a single leaf falling through space.
And so welcome back, everybody. Today we are here celebrating Raymond Douglas Chong, who is our power-up hero of service. And we already unpacked that his superpowers are teaching, travel, and transformation. And Ray has taken to poetry to tell us stories about not only his life, but also to challenge us to be able to think about how poetry can be a part of our transformative journeys, about learning about our identities and expressing our identities for the world, for expression, for the world to learn more about who we are. And so we are launching Ray's book, which is called, and I still don't know if I'm saying this correctly, Peony Amor. Say it, Ray, so I know if I'm saying it right.
Peony Amor.
Yes, thank you. Peony Amor. Peony Amor. Absolutely love this book. Every one of these poems that I read, I am transformed. And not only am I transformed in terms of learning a new word, because there's so many amazing words in here, but I'm transformed in the form of expression of thought. And there's so many ways that you can say things. For example, this poem that I've tagged that's called Everlasting starts, beyond an edgy horizon towards the mystical Far East, during a summery intrigue, within an infernal rapture. Wow. I mean, what is going on in that sentence, right? Beyond an edgy horizon. Wow. I absolutely love all the expression that's going on in this poem. And so, Ray, in closing, I definitely want to make sure that everybody knows how to get a hold of this book if they are interested. And so,
yes,
tell us how people can buy the book.
You can buy it at the world's bookstore, Amazon.
The world's bookstore. Yes, right there. We have Amazon.com. And if you don't mind, Ray, I think I'm going to try to find the link and drop it. But tell us a little bit about the book itself with people who have just tuned in.
Well, it's a journey, and a passion journey between a peony, a lady, and a dragon, a gentleman, from ecstasy to agony. And it tells a story of the highs and lows, the zenith and abyss of love. And this 88 love poems covers this journey of love and hate and betrayal and bewitchment, all a mix of true feelings that's authentic, that's real and transparent.
I love it. And so we do have some fans of yours who have tuned in. Thank you for all the likes and the hearts. We really appreciate it. And we definitely want to call out a fan who is Marva Lavelle. Very excited to have you here, Miss Lavelle. Truly enjoying this discussion very much. Mr. Chong is an interesting man. He is, and he's a friend. And so he's your friend too, Miss Marva. And definitely interested in purchasing the book. So there you have it, Miss Marva. I dropped the link in the chat for all of y'all to be able to learn more about this special book that Raymond Douglas Chong has written for us to enjoy. So please go out on Amazon. It's a simple search of Raymond Douglas Chong, and you'll be able to get access to this book and enjoy it, and enjoy every single one of these poems, because they are truly special, and they are stories within themselves. Each stance, each area of the book itself can be dug into deeply. Ray, I am so glad that you were here with us today. So in closing, how can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more? Maybe other people want to interview you and learn more about your book. How can they do that?
The best way is through my email, raychong@prodigy.net. That is the best way.
That is the best way. So just send Ray an email, and Ray will respond to you and be able to share whatever information you need to learn from Ray. And so with that, I thank you so much for joining in, Ray. So excited. We do have other fans who have joined in. So we have Josh. How's it going, Josh? You are welcome. It's always a pleasure to bring heroes to the community so that people can learn more about how they can be expressive in their heroic quests. Ray, it's always a pleasure. And I can't wait to see you next time you're here in Texas.
Soon.
Very soon.
Next month. I'll be over.
Next month. Okay, well, we'll have to make plans, okay?
Okay.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, bye.
So there you have it. We just celebrated Raymond Douglas Chong for the second time. So excited. Our Power Up hero of service, truly a champion of transformation, a champion of teaching, and a champion of travel. So we're so excited that Ray was here with us. You know, we talked about poetry. And so when you think about poetry, I think all about inspiration, and I think about evoking emotions, right? Poems can take you from one place to another without even leaving where you're at. And, you know, I felt like reading one of Ray's poems makes me listen closely to the heart of Ray, and then also felt a lot of my heart, right? I felt like my heart was being pulled. His poems were really tugging at my heartstrings. And so it's just so great. So I just have to tell y'all again, if you have missed this show, I want to tell you that we do have a book we are launching. This book is called Peony Amour by Raymond Douglas Chong. It is available on Amazon, and I hope you will take a chance and pick up this book. Thank you all so much for joining us today. If you want to find out more about Raymond Douglas Chong, our Power Up hero that we just interviewed, you can go to our hero page, which is poweruphero.org. And if you want to support this program, be sure to subscribe to the Power Up Hero Show wherever you are joining us. We welcome all the subscription because that's what helps us send the message across. You know, as I was thinking about poetry today, I thought, well, let me put something together in the closing that could maybe say that one day in my life I was a poet. So, a poet I never thought I'd be, but upon this writing, I know you'll see there is, after all, a poet in all of us. Thank you, Google, for that. Of course, I Googled that. Somebody else wrote that. Did not have an attribution for that, so I apologize by unknown. Thank you for that little poem that I was able to share with you all, because we all have poetry inside of us. And I hope that you are all educated. I hope you are inspired. And I hope that you are encouraged to be a hero. Whatever expression of that hero looks like, we celebrate you. And we hope that you will be a power up hero in your life, because our world needs more heroes today than ever before. I hope you make today a powered up day. Bye.